Hey everybody, what's going on? So I've been playing with this camera for the past month and a half thereabouts, and you know, the one thing that's impressed me about it is what Fujifilm has done by giving you so much for a very affordable price point. This is essentially a mini X-T4. So for people who want to get into photography or videography but don't want to spend a lot of money, this might just be the camera for you. Let's talk about the all-new Fujifilm X-S10. Big thanks to Fujifilm Singapore for allowing me to test drive the camera and this new 10-24 f4 lens. Having said that, these are my thoughts and my thoughts only. Let's talk about some of the basics of this camera. As I mentioned before, it looks like pretty much a mini X-T4. It's got a lot of that same build quality, but this is a much more budget-friendly camera. So of course the materials won't be exactly the same as the X-T4, but it's a very handsome looking camera. You got a nice deep grip on it. It is a small camera. So for those who have larger hands like myself, you might find that pinky looking for a home, but the grip has enough depth to it where it doesn't really bother me so much. So what we got inside here is a 26.1 APS-C BSI CMOS 4X trans sensor. Now, this is one of the great sensors that we've seen in all the other Fujifilm cameras to date. Very high quality, really good image quality coming from this. And of course, basically it's the same as the X-T4. So this is a really high performing sensor. Also, this camera has IBIS inside. Now, this is pretty impressive for a camera for Fujifilm coming under US $1,000, about $14.99 Singapore dollars here. And I mean, we saw this in the X-T4 and the same display that rotates and swivels. It's in this X-S10. Also, in terms of video functionality, because you can do 4K 30 internally with 8-bit 420, but at high bit rates. So you're getting really good quality video coming out of this camera system. Now you can record externally for this camera, they're not gonna be doing that. It's gonna be internal recording, they're gonna use the film simulations like Eterna or whatever film simulation they would like, and they're gonna be happy with it. And I'll tell you what, the footage coming out of this camera is really good. Now in terms of that kind of slow motion epic B-roll, you can do it with 240 frames per second out of this. So you can get that ultra slow, but that's in 1080. I would say 120 is the sweet spot. The 240, the 180, all this stuff, it's nice, but most people never really utilize it that much. But I think for the majority of people who this camera is targeted for, which are vloggers or which are people getting into YouTube videos or Facebook videos, Instagram and stuff, this is more than enough. Especially with IBIS in it, the higher bit rate, you're gonna get some fantastic footage coming out of this camera. I mean, we tried it actually when we did a live stream with Funan during Black Friday, Bryce and myself. You had it on Ronin, was it, Bryce? And eye tracking was enabled. We were walking around the shopping mall talking about Black Friday sales, and it was fantastic. And it's lightweight, so you don't have to worry about carrying a heavy camera because it's super lightweight, especially on a gimbal. It was overkill. I mean, the Ronin S was overkill for this thing. I mean, you could put this on a RSC2, an RS, or whatever the case is. Guys, this is very good for video. So in a nutshell, this camera packs a really big punch, especially for the price point. Now, there are a couple of things that I wish were improved on this camera. First off, it only has one SD card slot. Not a deal breaker, but it's nice to have two. Another thing, there's no dedicated headphone jack to this. We saw Fujifilm do this with the X-T4. It's in this X-S10. They want you to get a USB-C adapter for a headphone jack so you can monitor your audio. I don't know why they're doing this, but they are. I mean, there's room on the camera for a little headphone jack, guys. So Fujifilm in the future, could you please add it back in? It would be nice. Otherwise, I gotta get a USB-C adapter, which I could probably lose, or have to monitor my audio through the display on the back of it. Besides that, I like the camera. Let's talk about this all-new lens. This is the XF 10-24 Mark II f4 OIS WR lens. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this lens for a minute, and you've probably seen other reviews on it, going through all the details and all the specs. I'll just highlight some of those specs and we'll talk about what it's like to use, because I like to keep things in layman's terms. First off, let's go over the specs. 14 elements, 10 groups inside of this. You have 4 spherical elements, 4 ED elements, 72 millimeters for the filter diameter on this. It's a WR lens, so it's weather resistant, and it has OIS. The lens paired with the body, you're gonna get some fantastic stabilization coming out of this camera and the lens. Also, it comes in at a weight of 385 grams, so it's very lightweight, especially on the X-S10. Now, what is it like to use? It's a fun lens. I mean, this is great for video. This is great for architectural photography, real estate photography. If you want to do wedding photography or video, or just want a different perspective on things, wide-angle zoom lenses are a lot of fun to have. And this lens is a very sharp lens. Obviously, it's got the spherical elements inside of it, the ED elements, so you're going to see a big step up from the original version of this lens. Also, the aperture ring is much nicer on it as well. And you also have an auto mode on this. It's got a nice click to it. It feels very secure. Focusing feels good on this. It's a very nice lens, coming in around $1,000 US, a little bit pricey, but you know what? You get what you pay for. For a lot of people out there, if you're not bothered by the f4 aspect of this, which will mean in lower light situations, you will have to crank up the ISO a little bit. You got to get yourself a really nice lens. So there will be people that will be debating getting this lens versus the 8-16 f2.8. I haven't tried that lens yet, but I'm hearing really good things about it. But I think for a lot of people out there, at the price point and what this lens has to offer, it's a very nice option if you want a wide angle zoom lens. All right, so my final thoughts on the camera and the lens. As I mentioned before, this camera packs a lot of great features, especially for the price point. I mean, I've never seen something like this from Fujifilm. IBIS, flip out rotatable display, good 4K, really good photography under US $1,000. I highly recommend this camera to anybody that wants to get into photography or videography and doesn't want to break the bank, and you really want that really cool film simulations from Fujifilm, decent build quality, lightweight, easy to travel with when we can travel. This camera is fantastic for that. The lens, it's a very nice lens. This 10-24 is a really good focal range for a lot of people out there wanting to do video. As I mentioned, architectural photography, landscape photography, even portrait photography is very interesting with this. And it comes again at a price point like the X-S10 that is very affordable, and you're getting high quality glass. So this pair together is a very, very good system to have. Highly recommend it. There's very few faults to talk about with. And I know in a lot of my reviews, people say, Bob, you always have everything good to say about all the cameras and the lenses. Guys, we're at a time that companies are not making bad products, right? We're just threading the needle of what's better than the other. They're all really good nowadays. And for a lot of people out there that don't want to spend a lot of money, I recommend this. The X-S10, the 10-24 f4 Mark II, it's a fantastic setup. And those are my thoughts on it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Love to hear from you. Like always, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, helps out our channel. Be safe out there, and we'll chat to you soon. Take care.